on South Mount Pearl.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand in opposition to Bill C-31, the Budget Implementation Act. My opposition, Mr. Speaker, comes on two fronts: content and process. This budget bill is not just about the budget. If only this budget bill was about the budget, how simple and straightforward, Mr. Speaker, our opposition would be. Mr. Speaker, this bill is what's known as an omnibus bill. It contains everything but the kitchen sink. It is massive. This bill is more than 350 pages. It contains almost 500 clauses. It amends dozens of bills and includes a slew of measures that weren't even mentioned in the former finance minister's budget speech. This bill, Mr. Speaker, touches on tax measures, veterans, railway safety, hazardous materials, temporary foreign workers, the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, a new bridge for the St. Lawrence, new Canadians, and access to old age security and guaranteed income supplement. On and on, Mr. Speaker. And, oh yes, Mr. Speaker, it also mentions the budget. This bill is all over the map, Mr. Speaker. It's a monster bill that undermines Parliament because it denies members of Parliament, like yours truly, the ability to thoroughly study the bill and its implications. Because it's so big, because it's so far-reaching, because it's all-encompassing. I can't shake the feeling, Mr. Speaker, I can't shake the feeling of déjà vu, like I've stood in this very place before and made the very same point. That's because I have, Mr. Speaker. I stood in this place in early December and called out this government for introducing an omnibus bill, the fourth omnibus budget implementation bill. That omnibus bill, back in December, amended 70 laws, Mr. Speaker, or regulations in just a single bill. Ramming that much legislation in one bill, Mr. Speaker, is an easy way to get one past the electorate. It's also, Mr. Speaker, an easy way to make a mistake. It's irresponsible, it's bad governance, it's poor management, it's a slap in the face to democracy. We debate legislation in this chamber, Mr. Speaker, for a reason: to make the best legislation it can be. We can't do that, Mr. Speaker, with an omnibus bill. We can't do that with this conservative government. Another point, Mr. Speaker. One day soon in this House, a conservative member of Parliament will take to their feet and criticize Her Majesty's loyal opposition for voting against a particular piece of legislation. But there's a good chance, Mr. Speaker, that legislation was rammed into an omnibus bill, which undoubtedly has some positives guaranteed, Mr. Speaker. For example, now there's a measure within this bill that reverses this conservative government's previous attempt to tax hospital parking, to tax the poor, Mr. Speaker. So that's gone. And that's undeniably a good thing. But this bill also most definitely includes horrible legislation that rips into the very fabric of Canada, Mr. Speaker, and we'll vote against it. So when a Conservative MP or minister accuses us of voting against a particular measure in a piece of legislation, there's a good chance it was in an omnibus bill. And there's no way we can vote for those, Mr. Speaker, because they're horrible. Let me quote columnist Andrew Coyne from the National Post. He had this to say, Mr. Speaker, in 2012 about omnibus legislation, about transparency and about accountability. And that quote from 2 years ago is just as relevant today. Quote, "Not only does this bill make a mockery of the confidence convention, shielding bills that would otherwise be defeatable within a money bill, it makes it impossible to know what Parliament really intended by any of it. We have no idea whether MPs supported or opposed any particular bill in the bunch, only that they voted for the legislation that contained them. There's no common thread that runs between them, no overarching principle. They represent not a single act of policy, but a sort of compulsory buffet. There's something quite alarming about Parliament being obliged to rubber stamp the government's whole legislative agenda at one go." End of quote, Mr. Speaker. Yes, Mr. Speaker, it is quite alarming, but it's also old hat for this conservative government. It's their go-to trick, Mr. Speaker. They're all reliable. Mr. Speaker, let me tackle some of the meat in this Budget Implementation Act. First, in terms of the economy, Mr. Speaker, this is a do-nothing budget. It basically bides time until 2015 election year, Mr. Speaker, when the government purse will reopen and Conservatives will attempt to buy the electorate with their own money. They'll try to swing the election in their favor with the changes in the Unfair Election Act and then use taxpayers' own money to sweeten the deal, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm the official critic for the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, and it's been a very busy file, Mr. Speaker, with more Conservative patronage than you can shake a stick at. Where to start, Mr. Speaker? To simplify about patronage, to simplify and to borrow a description from the Halifax Chronicle-Herald. Hiring rules at ACOA have been twisted into pretzels to accommodate Conservative Party loyalists. Pretzels, Mr. Speaker, awful tasting pretzels. Patronage at ACOA, and it's been blatant and it's been steady. Patronage at ACOA walks like a duck. It looks like a duck. It quacks like a duck, Mr. Speaker. It even tastes like a duck. But the Conservatives, who use science as more of a political art, say the duck, say that duck that's been feeding out of the Conservative hand right in front of us is a figment of our imagination. Maybe the duck, Mr. Speaker, is invisible to Conservatives the same way that climate change is invisible to Conservatives, or the unemployed, Mr. Speaker, or veterans. So while patronage has run rampant at ACOA, what does this Budget Implementation Act do about it? What does this act do about it, Mr. Speaker? Let's see. Instead of increasing accountability and addressing patronage, they're gutting it, Mr. Speaker. This act will eliminate the need for the President of ACOA to table a report to Parliament every 5 years, showing the impact of the agency's work on regional disparities. In other words, Mr. Speaker, no more report card. ACOA's board of directors will also be out the door, Mr. Speaker. In theory, the board of directors could have blocked ACOA patronage, only they didn't do that, Mr. Speaker. I asked the Federal Auditor General last year to investigate the Enterprise Cape Breton Corporation, a branch of ACOA, after it gave a $4.8 million grant to build a controversial marina. The Auditor General agreed to investigate, and what did the Conservatives do in advance of that report from the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker? They fold the Enterprise Cape Breton Corporation into ACOA. How convenient. So to tackle the blatant, out-of-control patronage, this government actually gives more power, Mr. Speaker, to itself. To itself. This budget should have been about making life more affordable and reducing household debt. This budget should have been about making credit card rates reasonable. It should have been about capping ATM fees, cracking down on abusive practices of payday lenders, and providing services, Mr. Speaker, that Canadians rely on. Instead, this budget is about sidestepping democracy with yet another omnibus bill, the Conservatives' fifth attempt to evade parliamentary scrutiny. Let me end with a series of two questions posed by the current Prime Minister in 1995 when the Liberals pushed through an omnibus bill. Quote, the Prime Minister, "In the interest of democracy, I ask, how can members represent their constituents on these various areas when they are forced to vote in a block on such legislation and on such concerns? We can agree with some measures, but oppose others. How do we express our views and the views of our constituents when the matters are so diverse?" That's a good question, Mr. Speaker. So what's the answer? What's the answer, Mr. Speaker? The answer is we can't represent our constituents, Mr. Speaker, in dealing with such massive omnibus legislation. What's the solution, Mr. Speaker? The solution is to show this arrogant, entitled, out-of-touch Conservative government, a government that's forgotten right from wrong, a government that's trying desperately to cling to power by changing the rules in their favor. The solution is to show this government the door. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Cape Breton-Canso.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate a number of the comments made by my colleague. Certainly his reflection on the approach that the government's taken with the omnibus bill in successive budget implementation bills, they've gotten worse and worse with it. It's sort of like I said yesterday, it's like the Police Academy movies. You know, the sequel is even worse than the one previous. So, Mr. Speaker, he did reference ECBC and ACOA, and the minister, when he arrived in Cape Breton to disband the office in ECBC, he said it would enhance the ability for that community to deliver programs. Now, certainly, I'm concerned about the lack of flexibility. I'm concerned with the fact that the programs with ECBC are completely different than considerably different than the ACOA programs, and I'm concerned about the lack of flexibility around that. And that money will lapse. Money will be sent back. I'm quite certain of that, and programs will not get supported. Is there anything that my colleague sees in what the government has undertaken here that is going to enhance the economic development opportunities for the people in Cape Breton that have just seen their Crown Corporation closed?
Good question.
Honourable member for St. John South Mount Pearl.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for the question. The shorter answer is no, Mr. Speaker. I don't see any way that rolling the Enterprise Cape Breton Corporation into ACOA will actually enhance the services for Cape Breton. I don't see that. I mean, the Conservatives can spin it any way they want, but this is not a good thing. And another point, and I made this point in my speech, Mr. Speaker, the fact that the Conservatives take the ECBC and roll it into ACOA in advance of a report by the Federal Auditor General of Canada into a controversial grant that was given by the ECBC for a marina development. The fact that the Conservatives get rid of the ECBC in advance of this report is highly suspect, and I suspect that the AG will have found the Conservatives guilty of even more conservative patronage.
Questions and comments. Honorable député de Beauport, Limoilou.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je remercie mon collègue de Saint John South Mount Pearl pour son discours. Il a dénoncé avec raison le caractère omnibus de ce projet de loi. On aborde toutes sortes de questions que malheureusement nous ne pourrons pas étudier à fond. Puis en premier lieu, dans Beauport-Limoilou, comme je l'ai signalé la semaine passée, un groupe de citoyens, des parents d'enfants qui fréquentent une école primaire tout près d'une voie de chemin de fer, ont décidé de se prendre en main vu l'inaction de ce gouvernement. Mais en fait, le gouvernement conservateur est en action pour ajouter du secret dans les décisions qui vont être prises par le cabinet en matière de transport de matières dangereuses, entre autres par la voie de chemin de fer. Alors, est-ce que mon collègue veut commenter justement cette volonté très claire du gouvernement de tout faire en cachette, de tout faire hors de portée de la capacité d'examen de ce Parlement?
The honourable member for St. John South Mount Pearl.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for the good question. I see this omnibus legislation, Mr. Speaker, this omnibus legislation for the fifth piece of omnibus legislation for budget implementation bill, the fifth, Mr. Speaker. I see this personally as an affront to democracy. The honourable member mentions the railway, but besides the parts of the budget to do with the budget, you've got the railway, you've got hazardous materials, you've got temporary foreign workers, ACOA, as I've already outlined, a new bridge for the St. Lawrence. It goes on and on and on, Mr. Speaker. When you're talking about a bill that's 350 pages, a bill that has almost 500 clauses, one single bill that amends dozens of other bills, and a slew of measures that weren't even mentioned in the budget speech, there is no way possible, Mr. Speaker, to do what we're tasked to do by our constituents, which is to keep an eye on these bills and keep an eye on this government. It is too big, it's too massive.